Welcome to another episode of Two Old Geeks Talking. Now on the World Wide Web.
Hey, welcome back to Two Old Geeks. I'm Rob.
I'm Trace.
And today we're talking about The Fifth Element.
Yes, and you're a huge Fifth Element fan.
I'm a really big fan. I won't say it's like one of my biggest fandoms, but I'm a pretty big fan, yeah.
Yeah, and I have to admit I like it too, just because. And I just recently rewatched it before you chose this as a topic.
Okay.
And
on purpose?
Yeah, I mean it's just one of those movies.
Just for
it still holds up.
Okay.
Holds up. So, what do you got to say, brother?
So, in 1997, the movie was released.
Did you see it at the theater?
No, I did not. Did you?
Yeah.
So something about it was like, I gotta go to the theater and see that.
Bruce Willis was at the height of his career.
Yeah, he was at the height of his career. And of course, that's who stars in the movie, Bruce Willis as Corbin Dallas.
Yeah.
And then you have, help me pronounce her last name,
Milla Jovich.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Her as Lilo, which Lilo is just a short portion of what the character's larger name is.
Right.
You've got Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
As his full name was Jean-Baptiste Emmanuel Zorg.
Yeah.
I don't know why has to be so. All these names have to be so long. Chris Tucker as Ruby Rod, and the late great Ian Holmes as Vito Cornelius. Now, when was the last time you've seen Ian Holmes?
The last time I saw Fifth Element. Are you talking about in real life? I've never met him.
No. Most people know him from, he played Bilbo Baggins.
Oh yeah, that was the same guy?
Same guy.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So the Lord of the Rings, he played Bilbo?
Right. But see, I originally knew him from, I'm a big Hamlet fan.
Yeah.
And so Mel Gibson came out with a Hamlet. He played Horatio's father. And he was really like a Weasley guy in that.
Yeah.
And did really good with the part. And he gets stabbed through a tapestry and everything. And he really did good with the part.
Well, since you're talking about each individual actor,
right?
Let's do that for a second. Let's
okay.
flesh out. So we talked about that dude. What'd you say his name was?
Ian Holmes.
Ian Holmes. Yeah. So yeah, he just recently passed away.
Yeah,
pretty sure.
Not too long ago. Yeah.
So, but I mean, Gary Oldman as a bad guy, he's fantastic, and as a villain, and so he was a great villain in Bram Stoker's Dracula,
right?
And he was a great villain in Leon, the Professional,
right?
And he's a great villain in there was something else. Oh, Book of Eli. He was a great villain in that. So he. Luc Besson made the movie.
Right.
I'm a big Luc Besson movie. So
right.
He's a French director, and you don't get too many European sci-fi movies. You know,
yeah.
You got Clockwork Orange and to be honest with you, I can't really even think of another. I'm sure there's at least one. Metropolis. That was another old black and white one. But Gary, I mean, he's a good actor, but he did it as a favor.
Right.
To Luc Besson, and he's not a fan of that character or his portrayal, even though he did a great movie.
Well,
he did,
the way he described it was Besson had helped finance one of the movies he was wanting to do, one of his things he was passionate about. So this was basically, Besson said, "Hey, I want you to play this part." And the way he put it, was, I was singing for my supper.
Yeah.
He said, I was basically, the reason I did this wasn't because I had any interest in doing the character. I was basically doing it to pay him back for what he's done for me.
But I mean, he had a real Southern accent, almost a Kentucky accent.
Right.
And we're from Kentucky. And but it was funny to see a sci-fi movie. Well, this guy talking like this every time, And I had this Colonel Sanders type voice. So, and then Milla Jovich, the girl that played Lilo, she had put in for the part,
right?
And read for it, and then they didn't like it, and
they kind of passed her over.
Yeah, passed her over. So Luc Besson happened to bump into her at
a hotel.
At a hotel.
And said, "Hey, let's go
that weekend."
Yeah.
And she was able to convince him somehow.
The way they went up to his room and they did some screen testing up there.
Yeah, and so Luc Besson was actually married to the girl that's the blue opera singer,
the diva. Right.
But then he started messing around with Milla during Fifth Element.
And what's crazy was at the time she was only 19 years old.
Yeah, so I mean,
he ended up marrying her.
Yeah, so
but
he must have really liked. She convinced him.
Well,
really
he had
good.
a thing for young girls anyway. His first wife, before the diva, I can't think of her name. When he first met her, she was 15. She was pregnant by 16, and they got married. So,
but you can say what you want about how she got the part, and we don't know. We wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's how she got.
Yeah,
the
we
part.
wouldn't there on the casting couch.
I mean, she really played the role well.
But yeah, she did good. She
Right.
did great, and to be honest with you, I can't imagine anybody else in that role. And she played a balance between strong and yet vulnerable.
Right.
And so when you see her in later movies, which she's done those Resident Evils, I don't even know how many of those there are, 5 or 6 or however many.
Yeah.
So she just plays tough and hard. But in this, she did real good at balancing being innocent and being helpless, but yet being strong and intelligent at the same time.
Well, she
was good.
Gives credit to Besson for that because he gave her the instruction, basically, forget who you are. Just forget everything of who you are and be this person. This is who you are now. And so she credited him to bringing that out of her.
So, Bruce Willis was popular because of the Die Hard movies. And of course, I was a fan of Moonlighting,
right?
Where he got his start. And so there was somebody they wanted for that role of Dallas Corbin, which Bruce Willis played. I can't remember. Was it Mel Gibson? Had you heard? There was somebody else they wanted, and they couldn't afford him, and they proposed it to Bruce. And Bruce, they couldn't afford him either. And but he read the script, and he actually lowered what his typical fee was because he wanted he liked the movie, he liked the character, he wanted to be in it, and he did such a good job. So
yep. Well, another character that wasn't up for the character was Chris Tucker as Ruby Road.
Yeah,
they originally wanted Prince.
Well, I'm glad they didn't pick Prince.
Well, Prince kind of didn't pick himself. They offered it to him, and he just refused it. He said he looked at the character and he said, "No, this character is too feminine." I mean, say what you will about
I've seen Prince wear some very feminine things.
Yes, but Prince was a man and he was a ladies' man. So yeah, he was like, "Nope, I'm not doing this character."
Well, speaking of that character being feminine, Jean-Paul Gaultier, which was designer, he did all the costumes for the movie.
Like over 500 costumes.
And the costumes were very, when you watch a fashion show, nobody dresses like that in real life.
Right.
So and movies leading up to Fifth Element were kind of dirty and grimy. Your Blade Runner, your Star Wars, stuff like that.
Right.
Well, Fifth Element was bright and shiny.
Elements was bright.
Yeah.
Not all of it.
But still,
there was elements of that.
Yeah, those costumes.
The upper crust was bright and shiny.
When you can watch a movie in 2023 and the costumes still seem futuristic,
right? You
did your job because the movie came out 97?
97.
Yeah,
and the time era is set in 2263, which is still our future.
Yeah.
And and a lot of the costumes were what I would consider unisex. I mean, any costume you took off a guy and put on a woman, and you could put on a woman, take it off and put it on a guy, still would fit in this movie. So, I mean, he wasn't far off from where our future's ending. We're all going to end up unisex.
Well, I don't know about that. And maybe you, not me. But
I'll probably be dead by then.
But then you had Chris Tucker, which his star was rising too,
and he did awesome.
And he did great.
He took that character and ran with it.
And I mean, and I've always been a Chris Tucker fan. Anyway, I liked him in Shanghai Noon with Jackie Chan. I recently rewatched that, but yeah, he was on his game in that movie. He was pretty good. I mean, you know, he really made it. He really made it. So what else you got, brother?
Well, as for you all that don't know, Luc Besson, he had already kind of made a name for himself. He had already done like Film Lakita, Leon, which here in the United States was known as The Professional. I mean, he had all his skills under belt before he even got to this movie.
That was the only reason they gave him the movie.
True.
Because he
was,
proved himself.
This was one of his pet passions because he literally started writing this back when he was 16 years old.
That's crazy, ain't it?
Yeah, well, it's hard to think. I mean, no, not really. I mean, you come up with an ideal when you're younger. I mean, if you're an artist...
I wasn't coming up with nothing like that when I was 16.
You were practicing your karate back when you were 16. You didn't become a master until you got a certain age. And he started his storytelling ability back when he was 16, and he got better as he got older. And I'm sure that the story itself probably took many different changes. Actually, there's parts of the story that, and we might get into this a little later, that isn't even brought up into the film. You know me, I like stories that have history or backstories to it.
Yeah.
And this has a whole lot of that that's not even mentioned in the film. But anyway, so he had influences just like everybody else. And just like most all of us geeks, we're influenced by our comic book heroes and artists and writers and stuff, and he was no different. So he was influenced by two very famous artists. One of them goes by the name Mobius. His name is Jean Mobius Girard or something like that.
Yeah.
And then Jean-Claude Médériz or something like that.
Yeah, there was a magazine called Metal Hurlant, which eventually become in America Heavy Metal.
Heavy Metal, right? And
they were some of the first artists on the European version called Metal Hurlant.
Right. So he literally, I mean, he had the clout at that time to where he could literally hunt these two gentlemen down who were still at the height of their game, and said, "I want you all to help me envision this story."
Yeah.
And so they fleshed out a lot of the looks. Some of it actually, you know, like the flying cars, had actually appeared in some of their earlier comic books. It's not like something they just whipped up for the movie. It's something that they had already kind of had in mind. So I thought that was kind of neat that he went to his comic book heroes and was like, "Hey, you know, I need you all." And they were able to do that for him.
Yeah.
So when the movie came out, it was kind of a hit with fans, but the critics poo-pooed all over it. I mean, they ripped it a new one.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why.
I think it was different than what was coming out at the time. And well, first of all, the movie's not intellectual. You're not going to have a college class on.
I disagree, but go ahead.
Well, you're not going to have a college class on The Fifth Element. I mean, to me, it's a fun story. I can't be flipping stations and come across it that I typically don't finish it and watch it.
Right.
And so it's very rewatchable, and it's got a good story. I mean, what I liked about it was it's the old traditional story where the hero saves this girl, and you know, even though she had all this power at the end, without Corbin, this taxi driver, not only would, I mean, they basically, their love saved the universe, you know.
Right.
So.
Well, see, you're looking at it as a hero kind of thing. I'm looking at it as more of one of the oldest told mythical stories there is. What would you say the greatest evil in this world is?
The greatest evil in this world?
The greatest evil that you can think of. The greatest evil that you can think of.
Of course, I'm a Christian. I would say Satan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this basically falls right in line with most religions. You have a great evil. They see this thing in the sky. They try to respond with it, and it doesn't respond back immediately.
But did they give it a name in the movie? The big ball of evil? Was it just called
the ultimate evil?
The ultimate evil, yeah.
So what do you do when you come upon evil? You confront it with more evil, which is not the answer. So the answer comes from the sky. It comes to Earth, and we ended up destroying it. It gets reborn. Now, does all this sound familiar? It gets reborn in human form. all the greatest things on Earth is created by 4 elements: earth, wind, fire, and water. You have all the elemental things that creates this Earth.
But there's 5 elements.
But the 5th element...
Poon? No, it's not. That's not it. What is it? It's not poon. What is it? Oh, love. Yeah,
love.
The love. Yeah.
So the thing is this person who was sent down was destroyed, reborn as a human, and can't find the reason, because actually, as she says in the movie, everything you all create, you destroy. She's trying to find a reason. Well, the reason that destroys even the biggest evil, and that's always the evil we put in our heads, not what's actually evil, because we've never actually faced the real evil, Satan or whatever. We've never even seen ultimate good. So in our mind, the ultimate good is love. So, and she had to drag that out of him. He didn't want to say, I love you. But he knew that he had to, because if you turn your back on love, you give up on love, then evil wins. So when he said, I love you, the power of love shot up in the sky and destroyed the ultimate evil, this is kind of the story that has been told from religion to religion to religion. So when you say it's not that deep, actually it's a whole lot deeper than
it wasn't
everybody.
Deep. It wasn't that deep for me.
Well, it's all in how it's perspective. The whole world falls upon perspective. So anyway, that's the premise of the movie, right?
Yeah.
I mean, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it was, it's a real fun movie with a good ending.
Right.
And
good visual effects.
Yeah, that opera singer.
Right.
They wanted her to sing something, the big blue girl that was doing opera singing.
Right.
They wanted her to sing something that was inhuman.
Uh-huh.
So my understanding is they took a fantastic singer and they spliced her performance together to where it would be impossible for a human to hit those notes in that section. But there's like an Indian, I think she's Indian. She looks Indian. And singer who's attempted to do that, to actually sing that song.
Right.
And she's gotten really close.
There's a few opera singers that have hit it.
Yeah, so she's gotten really close, but hadn't nailed it quite.
The singer actually performed it. The woman had actually performed it, and of course they spliced it up to throw in the action things. But you can go online and watch the whole performance of her actually singing it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's amazing what she can do with her voice. And the thing is the singer that they had hired to play that role kind of disappeared. They couldn't find her. So Besson asked his wife to fill in for that role. And she had never sang before. So for her to be able to do that.
She lip synced.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. She didn't sing that. No, it was on a track. Yeah, she didn't sing that.
Okay, well, she says she did.
Yeah. Oh, she did? No, she didn't do that. She's lying.
She's lying.
Yeah, she's lying, man. What about the Mongoloids?
Dude, so that's... I like those characters.
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of...
like space orcs.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You gotta have villains, and why not have those guys?
But I thought it was funny how he gave him the gun.
Yeah.
And then he walked away, and there was just a red button on the gun. He didn't tell him what he'd done, knowing dang well they're going to push it, and eventually they do.
And that's one of the biggest props that people try to recreate.
Is that gun?
Yeah. If y'all ever get a chance, look up.
It seemed like there's another prop somebody tries to recreate.
Yeah, I don't know. It's those stones.
Yeah. It's those stones.
Adam Savage. He has recreated that gun.
And
And he can even show you what parts come from what other things. You have to look it up.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so these are some props. Your wife,
yes, Teresa,
3D printed these for me.
The invisible member of 2 Geeks.
Right, like a big invisible member.
But we'll get her on here one of these days. We'll talk about it.
So she 3D printed these for me, and then I repainted them and covered them with sand and retextured.
Yeah, you did good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really like...
Yeah, because they were, really shiny and
yeah, they were plastic.
Yeah, plastic.
Yeah, so all I did was do a little... I didn't have to do a whole lot. The work was done by her and whoever designed these things. I just think it's awesome to have them in my collection. I got them turned around, ass backwards there. But yeah, these are the elements the Stones.
Yeah.
I'm pretty cool. Another thing I got years ago in a loot crate was a multi-pass.
Yeah.
I've hung on to this thing for years. This is actually Lilu's multi-pass. And so...
Yeah, you should change it and put your face in there.
That's what I'm thinking about it, right? Something like that.
Yeah. This is going to be a thumbnail, maybe.
Maybe.
Multi-pass.
Yeah, multi-pass.
Yeah, I made these.
Multi-pass.
I made these out of cardboard. All right, what else you got? The soundtrack. So the soundtrack, a guy took a lot of world music from different cultures.
Right.
And I forget the guy's name. It's foreign.
Yeah, I don't have it.
And so anyway, so that narrows it down.
Right.
It was like Aziz something. I don't know.
I'm sure he was French.
Yeah, and he'll forgive me. But anyway, no, I don't think it was French. I think it was sounded like it was Indian, but maybe not. But anyway, he took all this different music from different cultures and then added techno to it. And so really, to be honest with you, the soundtrack's pretty darn good.
Well, I was trying to listen to it on the way here, you know, to get myself in the
get you in the mood.
road.
Yeah.
And some of it is just like, I can't listen to all this, and I'd skip, and I'd be like, and there's only like 3 or 4 tracks on it, maybe only 2, that I was like, okay, I recognize this, I like this. You know, of course, the Diva song. Yeah. And then Corbin Dallas's theme, and then the it's just called Lilu's Love Song, right there towards the end. I was trying to find like the theme music. You know, every movie has its own theme music. Yeah. And you hear it, and you're like, oh, I know what that's from. I can't find that on this soundtrack.
No, but I mean, it's still iconic. Even today, the way they use a mixture of CGI, which was in its infancy, right, and then matte painting and model and miniature work. You know, right. I mean,
well, you say miniature.
It looks like it's a real fleshed out world.
Actually, it's bigger. Some of the buildings for this landscape they were building was actually like 22 foot tall. Oh yeah. So basically what they were trying to do was create New York without losing New York. They were wanting a futuristic New York. Oh, going back to what we had said earlier, where I was talking about the history and everything. Yeah. There's a scene where the ship is flying away from New York. Yeah. And if you look, the Statue of Liberty is no longer on the ocean. It's more inland. And Manhattan literally looks like it's a mushroom underneath. So part of the backstory that very few people know is that Earth had donated billions of gallons of water to terraform another planet. And that's why the water line was so low, which brought the Statue of Liberty inland, and you can literally see underneath Manhattan. And underneath of it, they had just constructed more city. Yeah. So it was like the older part was still up here.
Yeah, the story he had could have filled 3 movies. Oh, yeah. But they shortened it down to Cliff Notes and made 1 movie out of it. And I think they did a good job on that. Another guy, Byron James, who he's passed away. He was like the right underneath the president, Byron James. He was one of the replicants in Blade Runner. Right. He was the guy with the white goatee and the beret. Yeah. And but he was in it, and I like to see him because most of the time he's playing a tough guy, but it was kind of a comedic role. Right. And then
still a military dude.
The guy that played president, he used to be on wrestling back in the old days when we watched it back in the 80s. It was Tiny Lester, and I think he went by Zeus. But he had that one eye.
That's why I was squinting for him, because he always had that one eye.
Yeah, one eye was looking the other way. Yeah, I used to have a school teacher like that. When she was looking right at you, you could do whatever you wanted. But if she was looking off in the corner, you better behave, because her eyes were messed up. So, anyway, so
that's all I got.
You done?
I'm done.
All right, we're done. We're done. We're done. We're done.